Hey everybody, it's Pastor Roger. Just wanted to take a moment to give you an encouraging word. I don't know about you right now, but I am exhausted. My family and I this week was taking a walk in the afternoon when it was some pretty weather, and we was reminiscing on the fact that our infant son, Luca, turned 7 weeks old this week. He actually turned 7 weeks old on his due date because he was 7 weeks premature. He's doing fantastic. Everybody in the family is doing healthy and well. But then we had to reflect on 7 weeks. Where's the time gone? You know, this far into the isolation and the social distancing, you also may be feeling some confusion, a little exhaustion, and like you've lost track of time and days, and that's okay. I've been on several Zoom calls recently, and I've noticed people in their pajamas. Totally okay. I've been talking to some of our college students, our high school, middle school students, our adults, and everyone's kind of talking about some of the same stuff. You know, we're losing track of days, feeling exhausted. Some people are falling into some bad habits, old habits that they thought they had kicked, maybe even some old relationships they thought they had kicked. Just because, even though it's not a healthy habit, not a healthy relationship, they know the circumstances of that habit or relationship. But right now, so many things are uncertain. And I just want to give you an encouraging word today, not to beat yourself up over this. In fact, we're going to look at Mark chapter 8, and would encourage you this week, read Mark chapter 8. Don't take anything I say, don't take my word for it, read it yourself. We're just going to look at just one chapter out of 4 Gospels where Jesus, I believe, is exhausted. And we're going to see how it affected him. So he totally understands what it is, I believe, that we're all going through. This disorientation, this exhaustion. Mark chapter 8, or the book of Mark, Jesus has a lot going on before we get to chapter 8. And just the 2 chapters leading up to what we're going to look at, Jesus was enduring the following. In Mark 6:14, his cousin John the Baptist died. In Mark 6:31, he desired isolation from the crowds. You know, we always we wonder why Jesus was trying to escape the crowds. They were exhausting, they were draining him. Jesus struggled through another episode of his disciples' lack of understanding. Mark 6:51. Mark 6:53, the crowd recognized and mobbed him again. Mark 7:1, Pharisees put him to the test again. Mark 7:28, a Greek woman challenged Jesus' theology. Mark 7:36, he healed a blind man and ordered secrecy, but people blabbed anyway. We see that so many times that Jesus, like, look, I did this, please don't tell anyone. They would tell anyway. And this, I'm not get into all the reasons why, but this could be one of the reasons why. He's exhausted, he's tired, please don't tell anyone right now. More Pharisees called him out and demanded proof in Mark 8:11. Mark 8:21, his disciples once again revealed that they're confused about all of it. And that's where we're going to pick up here, in Mark 8:22-26. But we take all this together, we get a picture of a Jesus who is constantly giving himself. Constantly doubted, constantly questioned, constantly in demand and sought after. All the while he's mourning the loss of his beloved cousin. Yet, he's not given the space to feel or express his emotions. In other words, Jesus was exhausted, frustrated, lonely, misunderstood, emotionally torn, and probably even questioning his calling and sense of self. And and you may be experiencing a lot of this yourself right now, as we are still, in COVID-19, and so many unanswered questions. So many things are normal, so many things are vastly different, and we just don't really know where we're at or what's going on. I'm here today at one of the places my family and I would like to go to, but it's closed, like so many other things, and but life goes on. So we're gonna look at kind of a comical story, Mark 8:22-26, where Jesus healed a blind man, but it took Jesus 2 tries. We always think about the perfection and the godliness and the holiness of Jesus. I'm not negating any of that, but there was a couple times where Jesus didn't quite accomplish. I'm not saying he didn't accomplish what he had planned, but we see like when Jesus is in the hometown that he couldn't heal anyone because of their unbelief. And that's a whole nother message in itself there. But here, Mark chapter 8:22-26, we're going to see that I believe that Jesus was just exhausted. Mark chapter 8, verse 22, Jesus gives sight to a blind man. As they came to Bethsaida, some people brought a blind man to Jesus. They begged Jesus to touch him. He don't know what Jesus was doing, but they're begging him to touch him. Maybe Jesus wanted to get away. Maybe Jesus wanted to break, but they're begging him to touch him. Jesus took the blind man's hand and led him out of the village. Looking at all this in context, maybe that's why he led him out of the village, to get away for a little bit. He spit into the man's eyes and then placed his hands on him. I've always said, Jesus spit in the blind man's eyes. He didn't see it coming. He spit in the man's eyes and placed his hands on him, and Jesus asked him, "Can you see anything?" Verse 24, the man looked up and said, "I see people, but they look like trees walking." So then, didn't heal him on the first try. Then Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes a second time, and the man saw clearly. His sight was normal again. He could even see clearly at a distance. Jesus told him when he sent him home, "Don't go into the village." I just imagine an exhausted, and exasperated, and tired Jesus going, "Look, please, just don't go into the village. Don't tell anyone else. I just need to rest. I need to recoup." And is it too heretical to suggest that such exhaustion, loneliness, and self-doubt could shake anyone's confidence? Why am I saying all this? I'm saying this to say, and the point I want you to get in all this today, that if you're exhausted, if you're lonely, if you're tired, if during this COVID-19 crisis you've made some choices you regret, don't beat yourself over it, but don't beat yourself up over it. Jesus more than understands. Jesus has been there, and Jesus has your back and doesn't hold any grudges, regret, anger against you for it. This is a trying, extreme time that no one has ever been through before. We got resources on our social media. You find other good resources on social media. You find some bad stuff too, so sift through it. But make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're exercising healthy self-care. So many Zoom calls and talks with students, adults, young people, and just people all over the spectrum of how they're dealing with things. And people find themselves that they've realized they're totally off their schedule. They're totally out of sync with their natural rhythm. And they're sleeping all day, awake all night. They binge watch hours upon hours upon hours of media. Some people are trying to recoup from that and shutting off the media some, and reading, intentionally spending time with family, connecting with friends, virtually, and friends in their own house physically. And maybe it's something you might need to start trying to do. But man, just don't beat yourself up over it. That's one thing none of us need to do. Remember also, one last before we leave, this is just a part of the paraphrase, the message paraphrase of 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. And actually, Amber had mentioned this and said, when you talk about exhaustion, include this, because this is something that's coming to her and encouraging her. The divine is speaking here. My grace is enough. It's all you need. And my strength comes into its own in your weakness. Guys, don't give up. Don't beat yourself up. Go in peace. Go in love. Jesus understands. He loves you. Jesus is there for you. And you're not alone. If you need help, reach out and get help. This is not a time to be suffering alone. If you're depressed, get help. Talk to someone. Just find someone to listen. So many great resources out there. But I wanted you to go. I want to come out today and stand in the rain in front of a closed mall, tell you that Jesus understands, because Jesus was exhausted. Jesus understands because there's times that Jesus was so, even out of sync and possibly out of his own rhythm, that he couldn't fully do what he set out to do in that moment. It took him 2 tries to heal this guy. So don't be, if Jesus is experiencing that, don't beat yourself up over it. If you didn't get up as early as you hoped, didn't accomplish some of the things today as you'd hoped, if you blew up at your kids, man, tomorrow's another day, and tomorrow's another day we'll be at home practicing washing our hands, not touching our face, and looking out the window. Hey, God bless you. Have a great week. This is Roger Cook from YourChurchMCC Metropolitan Community Church in NRV. We are a fully affirming LGBTQ church located in the New River Valley, physically in Radford, and all over the place on the internet. And God bless you. Hope you have a great day. Talk to you again soon.